Hey, listen, about 2 years ago, me and my wife, we went to Estonia and I took this picture of some cows. Now I kind of like this picture. I like the composition. The cows themselves were really engaged, obeying my commands much better than my usual models. So I like the picture, but it still is just the one single shot of random cows on a random field. Now, Tanya Kreil is a photographer who photographs cows and bulls a lot. She's also the follower of this YouTube channel, and I'm a fan of hers on Instagram and other places. I really like her cow pictures. Let me show you her Instagram feed. And now when you look at her pictures, you start to know these cows and bulls, their characteristics. But even more, you start to know Tanya. What interests her, what's her visual style, sense of humor. And you get much deeper into the subject, the cows, but also into Tanya's work that you could ever do with one single picture. Now, Baltz, a photographer, once said, each single photograph requires the context of the entire body of work to make its meaning fully understood. Like scenes from a film, the individual photograph, when removed from the series, is a fragment. Now, a random collection of pictures is of course not a series. There needs to be a reason for the pictures selected to belong into a series. And I've been thinking about that lately and came up with a couple of thoughts why a picture might fit into series. And this is not a final truth, might not be truth at all. It's just something that I've been thinking and learning as I go. So the first thing that is most important to me is a visual consistency within a series. To me, photography is foremost a visual art form. So the photograph itself, the physical photograph, is more important than what's in the photograph, if you follow my thinking. So therefore, to me, for a series to work and be impactful, it needs to have this visual consistency that keeps these pictures together. Now the second one is a clear theme. It could be a location, a person, a subject, but it also could be a visual thing, like totally random images, having something visually common could create a good series. Now it's good to remember that a style or a category is not a series. Landscape photographs is not a series. If I have a random sunset, a field, a forest, seascape, and I slam them together, that's hardly a series. But if I keep on photographing this tree over and over again, it might constitute a series if each and every photograph in that group adds something to the story. So there needs to be this theme or concept around which this series is created. Then the third one is purpose. I believe, once again, this is for myself, there needs to be a reason for this series to exist. Why I put these pictures together. Why I just don't let them be individual snapshots. And the reason can be fairly simple, like I just like this location, or I like this light, or it may be subject related. These are photographs of my dad. But whatever that is, if you can't express why you are making the series out of these photographs, it may not be a series. That's what I'm thinking. And then the fourth one is balance between consistency and experimentation. No, and that's also very difficult for me to know where the sweet spot is. If I go too much in the consistency end, I end up with a bunch of pictures that are all about the same, and they don't individually add anything to the body of work. Same picture 12 times is not a series. But also, if I go too much into experimentation, I might sort of understand what links these pictures together, but nobody else does. It's too experimental, it's not visible to the viewer so that he or she would understand why are these pictures together. So these four things: visual consistency, clear theme, purpose, and the balance between consistency and experimentation. Those are my guidelines currently. And I've been trying to compose some series now lately. It takes a lot of work. I'm surprised how difficult it is. It is especially difficult to have a good picture that you like and say that it doesn't fit in, it doesn't add to this series. And then sometimes even the other way around, that you have a picture that by itself is not that strong, but within that series it significantly adds there, and therefore it belongs. Now I think, and as I said, this is my learning process, so I'm in the middle of this. That's why it's a bit random what I'm explaining here. I think there are two ways of creating a series. One is that I might get interested in a concept or a view, and I decide that that is worth of me to investigate, to get deeper, to study with my photographs and create a series out of that. But the other way to do this is to go and look at my existing photographs and then almost accidentally seeing connections between photographs. I mean, they are all taken by me, and I'm typically interested in similar things day after day. So it's not a coincidence that there are connections between these pictures. And sometimes they are so strong that pictures that when I took them had nothing to do with each other. But now that I look at them, there is a connection. Visual, conceptual, but there's a connection. And then out of these two methods, there's probably a hybrid where I start by finding these interesting connections in my photo library and then getting interested in adding on top of that. So next time I go out and photograph, that series of photographs is on my mind, and I want to take new photographs that add on it, complement that existing series. And then I'm a physical person in a sense that I think that the photograph is ready only when it's in a physical format, book, print, framed. And the digital image on my screen or a negative is just the face product. It's just something that I can use to create the final photograph. And here's a little series that I made a while ago. First of all, the theme, the concept is tree trunks. Simple tree trunks of sort of autumn light, in an autumn light. Then there's a visual similarity. These are all pretty low key, low contrast There's a certain texture in each and every tree trunk, so there's that similarity. But then there's something more, which is this, how they are now framed. I found all these frames from the local flea market a while ago. And I thought this makes an interesting series because they are all from the same location, bought at the same time. Now they are totally different, but still there's a linkage, at least in my mind. I don't know if anybody else can see that. So here is a series of photographs that is not only linked together by the visual aspects of the photograph and the subject, but also how they are presented, framed. So I guess this thought can extend further from the actual printed photograph. But I don't start by printing. Instead, what I do is that I use Lightroom and I go and select pictures and I start to compose series. And I made 2 of those the other week. I thought about things that I photographed a lot, about 30 images with a common visual look and feel and a common theme. And I made one of my boat pictures and then the other one of my snowy winter downtown pictures. It took me much longer than I thought. I'm not entirely happy with the series, but I start to understand why I like some aspects of them and why I don't like some aspects of them. Now, I'd be really grateful and curious to hear from those of you who are further in photography. What do you think about this? This is a fascinating topic and unfortunately fairly new discovery to me, to concentrate truly on a series of photographs instead of one single photograph. And I want to get further and I want to learn more about this. So please take a look at what I'm going to show you and give me your feedback. And everybody else, thanks for watching. Next time something else.
Thank you.